as those pieces in the other room, they're all standing, meant to be ultimately freestanding, and they're using tar as this earth, this chthonic reference to origin, our very earthly origin, which has both negative and positive qualities, horror as well as delight. And then on rice paper that I meshed into this hardware cloth, this wire, is the deer as the deity of guiding deity. And there's the symbol, the same in this piece. These heavily encaustic, these thickly textured works, they're almost sculptural. They are sculptural. And then the deer suggests himself as the guide to liberation, illumination. Never mind those. We're working on those. This is one of those ice. This is the 10,000 years ago of Ice Age. And just as an issue of a painterly thing, I think I need to darken those right there. They intrude too much on the power of this flow that's finally broken. Oh, those are very static, the other two. But here it is finally broken open. And the whole of human civilization 10,000 years ago is when the Ice Age receded, and then human beings settled down and started civilization. And I don't know that that's a good thing, but nonetheless, that's what happened. And from hunter-gatherer, a relative innocence of hunter-gatherer, well, they were pretty tough too. I mean, I'd hate to get in a fight with one of them. This is just coming back from the other world. This will be a partition. And there's another painting on the other side with that Christian reference of rising up out of these elements, these chthonic elements, to transcendent insights. But if you look, this looks like the goat, which is usually sort of a nasty symbol in spirituality, but it's more, if you look closely, it's more the deer, once again guiding this exhausted and rather frantic fellow who's been denuded in the other side of hopefully of delusion about things. And that comes from 30 years of hitchhiking. So this one is probably more of the vulnerability one feels when one's out hitchhiking. You really put your faith in God, that He'll provide for you both protection as well as sustenance, because some of those I didn't take any food and I didn't take any money, and I just depended on what people provided along the way. And some of them, like the one to Greece, I didn't eat anything for over a month. I don't think I ate more than a few bites, a couple bites a day. Different than now. And then there's the transcendent sense of death and resurrection. It's hard to see, but this is another one. So there are these three partitions and then the large partition. Now this is something new I'm starting, of these works in these boxes. I don't know, I just think these boxes, they're packing crates basically. But I think they've come out so beautifully, and the wood that the guy chose was this poplar wood. Actually, I asked him to get poplar, but this is what he got. It's not what I meant. I just wanted to use poplar because of its spiritual qualities. But it turned out these beautiful white boxes, and so I've started using them as containers for paintings. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that. Shaman's robe from long ago when I was into those kinds of things. This one, I think it's a seascape from Newman days. Back in, what year was that? Like
1996 to 1999, 2000.
There you go. And I repainted it recently. I think it's so large, it's almost institutional. It requires an institutional environment or a big glass house or some big modern kind of house. The end of my stay in Long Beach had worked down to, it was really, the UC Long Beach, not UC Long Beach, California State University at Long Beach is built on the old burial grounds and dance grounds of the coastal Indians. Their tennis courts are built on their dance ground, and so there's a lot of tension, psychic tension, you know. And there's a river that runs past that. And so this is the end of my stay. I was coming up with these rather dark things, rather dark, not very positive. But just in terms of a painting, it's an interesting sort of painting. I've done some dark, like night painting and stuff. But I think this one would benefit for just the slightest light, maybe light gray. There, do you think? And it might complete the piece more nicely, I think, than it is right now. So I think about these for monks, and like I've told you, some of them take years to finish, and some of them are finished very quickly. You never could tell. The people always ask me, well, how long did it take you to make that? Well, maybe it took me an hour, or maybe it took me a decade, you know, because it's what's going on inside is what's getting expressed.
What's this one in the middle?
Also part of it, one of those planes, another one of those planes paintings. And it's a color coming out of a white ground, so almost like a springtime reference to springtime, and the flow of the people of the plains, the Native Americans used to follow the sun. You know, they're followers of the sun because they moved south as summer came on, or no, as winter came on, and then moved north as summer came on, following the buffalo herds. This is just a reference to it. It just finished itself It was delightful. It was kind of very positive sort of thing. I think I did it here. Didn't I finish it here? I think I did.
When did you start it?
I think I was at the Sisters in Gobernador. I was a chaplain for those Benedictine nuns for a few weeks, and I painted in one corner of my little chaplain's quarters. I started this and several others. That series that you have, the Golden Flower. I think that's about it. Do you think? Your favorite one. Now this one, I don't know. Why don't you tell me about this, Aiden? Because you see more in this painting than I do. To me, it was a landscape a long time ago, but very, very brushy and very abstract. And I've done lots of landscapes, but it's from a very long time ago. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s. What do you think, Hayden?
To me, it looks like a mountain range, like wild and powerful.
Yeah, well, it's wild, yeah. Maybe so. I mean, maybe that's fine. Maybe just leave it as it is. Maybe I should. Well, that's another story. Do you want to see this one behind?
What is this one you're tipping there?
Well, you have a source, and everything goes out from the source, and everything returns to the source. I think that's Christian theology and any kind of the Native American theology. All those round dances, you're dancing around like there's a drummer in the middle, you know, or a fire in the middle. That's the origin, and everything is always emanating out or returning to the origin of things. But this started out to be the story of the Russian bishop and hermits that Tolstoy told. Kind of anti-clerical, but very spiritual, in the sense that the Russian bishop was on a missionary journey, and he came across these three hermits living on an island, and they barely knew their Christian prayers, but they considered themselves Christians. So he stayed with them and taught them the Our Father and the other prayers that that Orthodox would know and commonly know. And then he left them, and he was sailing away in a ship away from their island, and he was looking back at them, and it looked like there was kind of like a moon rising on the horizon out on the sea as he was sort of gazing back and towards the direction of their island that had disappeared over the horizon. And it looked like the moon was gathering, and then it came up and there was this big glow of light, and then it was this big glow of light coming across the ocean. And so he ended up cowering behind the guardrail, and because it was getting to be terrifying short of a big glow of sight of a big the glow of light was coming at you across the ocean. And then when it got close to the ship, you could see that it was the hermits running across the water saying, stop, come back. You left us, and we loved all the things you taught us so much, and but we're already forgetting them. We can't remember, so teach us again. And he was looking over there, and he said, I don't think I need to teach you anything. Maybe you should teach me, because they'd already accomplished, the spiritual transcendence in their solitude, a shared solitude, a little community of 3 monks, 3 hermits. That's why I prefer the hermit's way, though I'm not very good at it.
Sage.
The way of the sage, there you go. Do you want me to talk about this?
Sure.
The last painting I did in Long Beach, and I incorporated that in this shaman's robe that I made, that though I didn't really make it, it was sewn together by the secretary of my first parish when I was a priest. She and I are still friends. I corresponded with her until she died just this last spring. She was in a home in Texas, and she died. She was in terrible shape. She had painful problems. But she was a wonderful person, and we reconnected in a beautiful sort of way. And she's the one that sewed this robe from these. These are all hand woven on foot looms, though this is on a backstrap loom from the Chamula Indians outside Las Casas there in southern Mexico. I can't think of the full name of the town, but it's just north of the border with Guatemala, and there have these Native Americans, the local Indians that do all this beautiful work. See, the textiles were one of the greater accomplishments. I think they were about on the level of the Iliad and the Odyssey in terms of a civilization when Europeans arrived and sort of wiped out those cultures. But the villages survive, and they still practice. Some of them survive even now, which is amazing. And these are from Guatemala, though, and this very nice one there too. And then this was a Trappist scapular and hood from my friend, Brother Mark. We were friends until he died a couple of years ago. Guess we're still friends. Used to fight all the time. I think we're not fighting anymore. And there's just a staff walking. The dance, it's taken on a dance-like movement almost, a suggestive of something going on. Because I've changed how it was, because it was just hanging here as if it were on display. But I've changed it all around because I think things are going on now. There's stuff there's mischief, there's magic afoot. Things are happening these days, and I'm not too sure about this one down here, though. I wish somebody else would tell me these things. It takes me months to make these decisions. I wish they'd come in and just tell me, here, do this here, do that there, and then it all turned out okay, and then you'd be finished. But I don't know, I like this one very much the way it is. Maybe it needs a bigger box. What do you think? Yes?
That one? Where's that tall box?
There's that one, or that one's tall. Might as well use them. I could. That's a lovely piece, really. Don't ask me what it refers to.